welcome to another episode of SSB Podcasting. My name's Daniel. I have Elijah with me.
Welcome.
I got Jesse with me today.
JJ Jew, a.k.a. Jewish Jesse, a.k.a. Jesse.
You don't have to do it every time.
I just got to do it, Chef Jew. There's different, there's different like names that I have, okay? And just a reminder, my name is spelled Jesse. I repeat, Jesse, not I-E, okay? Comment in the section below saying Jesse, okay?
Yeah, we got a little song for Jesse. It's called
No. We're not doing this. We're not doing this again. Nope.
Yeah, he refuses to listen to that song.
Nope.
But we got a great discussion for you guys today. We're going to get into it soon, but I just want to mention today is a topic that I'm going to enjoy because this represents the body, and we always talk about, this is the SSB podcast and the spirit and soul of the body, and my representation, it just evodes well with this topic today. We're going to talk about fasting versus dieting. So I'm excited for the discussion, and I think we'll get a lot of insight and feedback on our perspectives with this and some of the myths that we have in the perceived notions of what is fasting versus dieting, because there is a difference. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So just kind of opening it up, Elijah, what do you think fasting versus dieting is? Kind of give us a definition of that.
Well, I think it's important to, number one, understand that they are two different things. They're not, think of it's kind of like a dance, right? Like one part and the other. They're different, but yet they work together. And so fasting, from a biblical standpoint, like a Christian point of view, is when you are, in the case, a lot of times the Bible talks about like the Daniel fast, the Moses fast, Jesus, they didn't eat, but Daniel had a restriction. There's different types of fast where you refuse to eat physical food in order to get closer to God and pray.
Yeah.
And because the time that you would spend eating, thinking about food, cooking the food, is you spend time with the Lord. So that's fasting. Dieting talks about more of like a health reasons. And so Daniel, he's probably been on 50 different diets from every Itarian, pescatarian, chicadarian. I don't know.
What are you now, right?
I am currently a pescatarian, but that is very, very far-fetched. I've been on 50 different diets. I've been on a couple different diets. I would say specifically being a pescatarian is the one that I've been on a pathway that's been working for me so far.
But as an athlete, he's gone through seasons where he would bulk up and look like a chipmunk.
Absolutely.
The other times he would just restrict certain types of food. So that's more dieting. So it's more so health, not so much spiritual related. Fasting combines the two.
Right.
So that's, I think, one easy way to look at the differences. And again, it's not to say that if you diet, it's wrong. I personally, I'll talk about my experience. I don't believe necessarily in dieting specifically the way that maybe the media and people talk about or perceive it, which I'll go into later. But I think it's important to make sure that we're conscious of our body.
Right. It's important to emphasize. I think a lot of people lose weight when they do fast, right? But it's not the specific purpose.
Yes.
I think with dieting, you are in a sense managing your weight.
Yeah.
It's weight management, right? So every time you fast, you might lose weight. Very likely to lose weight, but it's religious purpose tied into it, like you said.
Yeah.
So that's a huge point. So Jesse, kind of discuss like some of the principles behind why people may fast and why fasting is important.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some of the benefits, like you said, a lot of people equate it to losing weight, okay? And people use it for losing weight, but there's obviously a spiritual side to it, right? And so, I mean, kind of going through the more practical ways, some of the benefits are, blood sugar control, healthy blood pressure, inflammation, reducing of inflammation, obviously weight loss. But the spiritual side of it is, I think, a lot more significant. It's the overall well-being of a person and body. But the cool thing about fasting is it doesn't just take care of the body. It takes care of the soul. It takes care of the spirit. Yeah. Because whenever you're in scripture, when it says when you're dying to your flesh, your spirit is your spirit man is increasing. Your spirit is getting closer to the Lord. So it's like it's an overall benefit to the body, right? Mm-hmm. People think of fasting like, I have to let go of these things and it may not be as beneficial, or, there's certain aspects to that, of course. But when it comes to the full, like the wholeness of it, it's a really beneficial thing, and we can kind of get into that as well. And yeah.
Right. And I think so in comparison to dieting, I think one of the myths that I would say in dieting that people have that will be true for fasting is skipping meals is not, I don't consider that a diet.
Right.
I think, when you're skipping meals, it's for a purpose. And a lot of times that's because you're fasting. And another thing in dieting is something that works for one individual may not work for the other. So it kind of varies from person to person. So it's kind of it's important to understand that, because I think a lot of people think that, like, okay, if I go on a keto diet, this person went on it, so it's going to work for me. So kind of trying to figure out, like, the difference when, like, obviously, a fast is a different approach, but the diet purpose is important to understand those common myths that people may not understand. So I'll share a little bit of my experience as an athlete, being on a diet versus fasting. Specifically for me, I try to focus on the diet perspective, because I've had seasons where I've tried to bulk up, and then I've also had seasons where I've been lean, so I've understood, like, the importance of, trying to, incorporate those dieting. And I've learned throughout that process that it's from person to person. So that dynamic is important. So Elijah, kind of talk about some of your experiences with fasting and dieting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm not a pescatarian.
Oh, so, you can tell.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell.
What do you mean? Explain that.
Well, okay. Personally, I can tell, because the amount of, whenever you send pictures of the food that you eat, it is a mixture of things that, like, I don't know, from an outside perspective, look crazy.
It looks exotic.
Looks very exotic.
We got a personal attack going on.
Yeah, hold on.
I'm sorry. I just had to.
This is okay. Let's save it. Well,
talk about it.
Let's talk about it. No, so for me, I view dieting, I think we mean the same thing, just maybe I use a different word. For me, it's more so like healthy eating, because dieting, what's the first word in dieting?
Die.
Right? Because people focus so much. This is important. A lot of people focus so much on, like, dieting. I got to do this. I got to be so strict. Then you kind of lose the essence of being a human.
Yeah.
So for me, I've seen that too many times where people, like, count every single calorie in the world, and like, mentally they're, like, miserable. Yeah, you might be 5% body fat, but, like, what kind of toll did it pay on your, like, mental, your physical, your spiritual? So that's why for me, I just focus on being healthy, eating healthy, sleeping right, eating the right food, nutrients, hydrating, all these things that are important. And then from there, everything will take care of itself. Like, I don't really look at my way as like, oh, I have to be at this certain. But I do agree for Dan, because he was an athlete, it's a much different, because there's
certain situations.
Yeah, but even Dan, he always made sure that didn't, like, he didn't idolize dieting. So that's number one. For fasting, for me, I think it's a thing that every Christian should do. It should be part of their lifestyle. And something, I mean, we fasted together before, longer fast, shorter fast. I mean, I've done a 7-day fast with no food, just water.
Yeah.
And I think Jesse done maybe 7 to 10 days. And so again, but everyone is different. So please do not advise you go from never fasting to doing 7 days in a row.
Yeah, of course. Moderation.
Yes.
Moderation.
And for those bigger fasts, you have to be led by God into him for fasting.
Yeah.
And so for me, I took it as an opportunity to get closer to God, to resist my flesh.
Yeah.
And then get closer to God in the process. And I know for my father, one of the greatest men I know. I really honor him, because he's had one heck of a life. I mean, he was an atheist in the beginning of his life. He gave his life to Christ at 28, and then from there had a radical transformation. And my father, he did 40-day fast before, not back to back, but like at certain moments.
Wild.
Yeah, can you 80 days?
That's crazy.
That's what we call death.
Yes, that's yeah. So, but my father, the man that he is, he like. I personally think, had he not done that, because the first 40-day that he fasted was for my mom to come back, because there was a moment that my mom couldn't enter the U.S. because she had to go back and forth, and she was gone for almost 2 years. And so my dad had to fast. Mm-hmm. And then the second one was when we're in the process of getting our asylum and our court case. My dad did another 40-day fast.
Wow.
And my father showed me that men need to take responsibilities for their family.
Yeah.
And when it comes to fasting, because they are the head.
Right.
And they need to make sure that their family's taken care of. And when I saw that for my dad, and to see him, I think he lost maybe 50 plus pounds.
Dude, your dad lost a lot.
Yeah,
He was small.
you guys remember this, yeah. And I remember the last day of the fast. We sent him to a cabin because, okay, my father was cooking for us. He was going to the sauna. He was working during this 40 days. I'm like, Dad, what are you crazy?
Yeah, that's wild, man.
And then the last week, I'm like, Dad, we're sending you to like cabins, like pray. And I came to him the last day, and just to see my father, though he's physically looked weak, spiritually he was strong.
Yeah.
And that's the point of fasting.
Yeah. And that's the benefit right there. Yeah. That's what I was talking about when it comes to like all aspects of your spirit, of your soul, of your body. There's a sense of healing that comes behind that too, you know? Something I actually wanted to talk about, kind of like pivot really quickly, is the definition of fasting, because we talk about fasting social media.
Yeah.
We talk about fasting like, you know, I'm just
my girlfriend.
I'm a fast texting her after like 10 p.m. or something. I'm like, is that a fast? I mean, what are your guys' opinion on that? You know, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to our high school coach back in high school who used to make us fast from texting girls before big games.
Yeah, I remember this, yeah.
You guys remember what I'm talking about? So, you know, and that's a great question, Jesse. Like, is that a fast? You know, but I think that then the purpose and intent behind a fast is to spiritually grow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, ultimately it is a holistic approach because, you know, you're in tune with certain things that are important, like your growth with your relationship with Christ and your relationship with other people. They're more in tune, right?
Yeah.
You have that specific time when you could be going out to lunch or eating dinner to build those relationships, and obviously it's going to benefit your body. So, you know, I think the purpose and intent behind a fast, it depends on those things. Like, what are you doing it for, and are you doing it for a greater purpose of God? Are you sacrificing something? And it doesn't necessarily have to be food, right? So, you know, that analogy, though, I'm not texting.
That was like so funny. It was like, you know, for this whole week, you can't be on your phone past 10.
Right. But you certainly can fast from certain activities.
You can,
right?
Yeah.
So,
because some things can be a distraction.
Right.
They can be a distraction away from like spending time with God. Like you can fast, you know, like food, and that's ultimately like what it should be, right? Mm-hmm. But there's things right now in our generation that are way too distracting for us to even focus on God, right?
Yeah, I think you can. So for me, I think fasting certain things is like, if you're looking at a biblical standpoint, is referring to food. But I think, again, this is the beauty of our faith, is that it's different across cultures. Like, for example, in the Jewish culture, it's much different when it comes to traditions, and as true. Jesse's well educated on that. And
not
so
that educated.
Well,
sure.
You educate us.
I'm educating y'all on my
more educatedness.
Why are you so modest, man?
I know, man.
Well, that's what the Bible tells me to do, you know. So,
but I think for fasting, there's no greater reward when you fast without food, because ultimately you cannot physically live without food.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You can live without a computer.
Your dependence is on God.
Yes. So at that point, it's like, I have nothing else to turn but to God. So I think there's a special thing that happens when you fast food. Not fast food, like go to McDonald's, but when you're fasting physical food. But also it's good to, again, do a fast when it comes to maybe social media, right? I've done different ones and through my life, and I think it's healthy to reset, rebalance. But ultimately, a true definition of a fast is with food.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, that's good.
That's a great point.
Right. So let's talk about, what about some of the diet benefits? Like, what do you think are some good diet benefits in terms of, you know, there's also benefits to fasting, but, you know, some same benefits to dieting as well. But what are specific benefits from dieting that people can say, you know, this has helped me?
If you want to look like Dan, that's the greatest.
Become a pescatarian.
Well, Dan, you want to maybe mention a couple, and then we'll go back and forth?
I'll share like some of my, you know, personal experience. So dieting for me has played a huge role in terms of benefits in my life, especially as an athlete. You know, it's not just for weight management, and that's not really how I've used it, but it's also been a nutritional balance thing for me, where, you know, you have so many, you know, things that you do as an athlete that wear and tear on your body. being able to get the right nutrition creates that balance for yourself, and then also improving your digestive system, feeding yourself with the right fumes to be able to, build your muscles up and break them back down. So I think it's played a significant role for me, and it's allowed me to just, even for my joints, it's allowed me to be able to heal and be able to not wear or tear as much when I go through the practices and stuff like that. So it's played a huge benefit for me, for sure.
Yeah, and I think also we can even relate dieting or healthy eating, right? Again, we'll use it interchangeably, or we have used it, is the legacy that you leave on this earth. Because think about when all of us in the future want to get married, have kids. I don't want to be that grandpa that can't stand from their,
It's true.
from their rocking chair. And so, of course, I understand there's situations, different not consequences. Well, technically, yes, but different circumstances for why a person would be. But I want to be in the best possible.
Yeah.
What's so funny, man?
Go ahead, man.
I want to be that jacked grandpa.
I want to be that grandpa.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And
But
that's why, so like the fasting versus dieting piece is important, but ultimately you want to empower people to live a healthy lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, if you're not dieting, I think instead of dieting, you should, I believe in taking steps as well.
Yeah.
But it's important to live a healthy lifestyle. Therefore, you don't have to go through a phase where you're gaining weight and then have to go on a diet to lose it, but then you gain it back because your diet is over.
It's your lifestyle that you're trying to live, right? So you want to be able to live it continually. It's something that despite age, despite wherever you're at in life, that it's not based off of a certain thing, certain athletic, event or whatever. It's like you're living this lifestyle, it's not just one goal. It's a lifestyle. Something quick example is somebody that I know down in Fort Myers. This guy has his own business. He, has 5 kids, 6 kids on the way.
Extra 6 kids?
An extra 6 kids. No. He's got a 6th child on the way.
Just make sure everyone's clear, because people.
Clarify. But he's got a lot on his plate, right? And the reason why I'm emphasizing this is this guy has dedicated himself to take care of his body and be an example in his family. Yeah. And that is something that I think that we need in this generation is people. Despite age, despite whatever, he's not like old, okay? He's in his 40s. Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. But like he's taking care of his family. He's still taking care of his body. He's doing all these different things. And honestly, he's an example of like that SSB lifestyle. Yeah. That's somebody I look up to when it comes to that. And like reason I'm saying all this is like, guys, we can make excuses all we want, But at the end of the day, if you're really committed to taking care of your body, taking care of your family, all these things, like it will play out, and that's a good example. That's kind of what I wanted to share on.
That's good. And we want the people to choose what's right for them. And we also want people to understand the difference of fasting and dieting. But at the same time, it's important to live a healthy lifestyle. Yeah. That's what SSB is about. Yeah. The spirit, soul, and body. And we want to create that transformative movement that, instills that in people to live in a lifestyle that's incorporating spirit, soul, and body. Well, that's all we got, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed our episode. We want to hear from you guys.
Absolutely.
So if you guys would comment, leave us questions.
Comment your favorite diet.
Comment your favorite diet or some diets that we may try.
Yeah, maybe we haven't heard of. Yeah.
Remember, JESSE. Okay, J-E-S-S-E. Not IE.
Needs to go on a DIE.
Well, until next time, folks.
Alrighty, y'all.
Take care.